Okay, so good day everyone. Welcome to our class this day. Okay, so by the way, I am Spencer Embaredo, a third year college student taking a Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Filipino. Okay, so before we started our class, let us bow down on head first to our prayer. Dear Father, we offer everything and thank you for everyone gathered here today to walk with you. May we ask you for your blessings and guidance so that the activities set in this undertaking be successful. We ask you to open our eyes to see the wonderful things from this activity. We ask that you open our ears that we may retain the invaluable knowledge. Open our minds for us to think wisely, both us with understanding and cooperation and peace in fulfilling our responsibilities. Open our hearts so that we may receive your everlasting life, and open our spirit so that we may know that you are with us all throughout the day. We ask all this in Jesus' name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. So before going further with our discussion, let us have our classroom rules first. Okay, so there are 5 classroom rules for our discussion. Okay, so the first classroom rules is be on time, ears on teacher, sit down nicely and enjoy the class, eyes on the screen, raise your hand when you want to answer the question. Is it understood? Alright. Okay, so let us have first activity. Okay, so this activity entitled Arrange Me. Okay, so these jumbled letters, you need to arrange into minutes. Okay, so I understood class. Okay, so your time starts now. Okay, that's right. Okay, so the jumbled letters forms the word culture. Okay, so our topic for this day is about the Unit 2 principles and theories on school culture. Okay, so this is the lesson for culture. Okay, so here are our learning outcomes. Okay, so exemplify one's culture as to characteristics, elements, and functions. Okay, but before that, what is culture? Okay, so culture is way of life which includes the language, beliefs, norms, values, customs, and materials object. Okay, so according to Schaeffer 2013, culture is a totality of learned, socially transmitted customs, knowledge, materials, objects, and behavior. Okay. So culture is the total way of life shared by members of a community. Okay, so that's right. The culture is the total way of life shared throughout the members of the community. Like, um, bawal manilhig kapag um, gabi, yan. Okay. So culture is a learned set of shared interpretation about beliefs, values, norms, and social practices which affects the behaviors of relatively large group of people. It is according to Lustig 2013. School culture generally refers to the beliefs, perceptions, relationships, attitudes, and written and unwritten rules that shapes and influence every aspect of how a school functions. But the term also encompasses more concrete issues such as the physical and emotional safety of students, the orderliness of classroom and public spaces, or the degree to which a school embraces and celebrates racial, ethnic and linguistic of cultural diversity. Okay, so like the larger social culture and school culture results from the both conscious and unconscious perspective, values, interactions, and practices, and it is heavily shared by a school's particular institutional history. Students, parents, teachers, administrators, and other staff members all contribute to their school cultures. Okay, so as do other influences such as the community in which the school is located and the policies that govern how it is operates or the principles upon which the school was founded. Okay, so positive school cultures provide a safe, supportive, encouraging, inviting, and challenging environment for students and staff. Okay, so it's turned allow students' academic achievements to involve. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoy and learn from our topic for today. Have a good day and keep safe, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, I am the next reporter who tackled about the characteristic of a culture. So number one is culture is learned. So please read about what is culture is learned. Culture is learned from various people you have encountered and interact with through forms of socialization with parents and family members, friends, or even with people you have met for the first time. It can be taught and learned directly through observation and imitation. Okay, thank you. While much of what we learn is about culture, we can be learned through family, school, peers, and media. So there are often many things that culture that are learned subconsciously. So for example, we may learn when particular holiday occur in school. So like Christmas is always on December 25th. So however, the norms and what it means to be in the Christmas spirit is something about, or we have no conversations about, or we cannot read it on the book. So it comes from many years of observing others and just being around people who celebrated Christmas. Second, culture is shared. Another important part of our definition of culture is that culture patterns are shared. This is collectively experienced and agreed upon. This is what makes human society possible. The perceptions of an individual may be similar to that of other people in the same environment, and so culture patterns are shared. This group of people would be interacting and would be sharing those side in terms of experience, ideas, attitudes, and more. Second was all about culture is shared. So the very concept of a culture makes it a social construct. To learn a language, behavior, tradition often involves interacting with other people. So those culture is largely shared. So despite the shared nature of a culture, that doesn't mean that culture is the same for everyone. There can be certain things within culture that are shared between some groups but not others. So for example, so American culture values freedom. So however, beliefs on how to achieve that freedom may differ from group to group. So there is not one universal American culture. So American culture can create smaller group who selectively shared some aspect of the overall culture but not others. Third, culture involves a large group of people. Interaction with a large group of people makes it more associated with culture. Daily interactions with the same group of people every day will develop perceptions and experiences which might affect your way of living. Culture involves a group of people. So that is for the third. Culture involves largely group of people. So a culture is a way of life of a group of people, the behavior, beliefs, values, and symbols that they accept generally without thinking about them, and that are passed along by communication and imitation from one generation to the next. Culture is dynamic and heterogeneous. Another characteristic of culture is its dynamism and may vary across time and place as humans adapt to the physical and social environment around them. Culture is dynamic or not static. It changes as a person grows older or when a person would be living in another community or environment different from the previous one. Okay, the fourth was all about culture is dynamic and heterogeneous. So it means that culture changes. So a person who grows up in one culture is not tied down to that culture. So if that person moves to a completely different area and takes on all the culture values therein, he or she can be viewed as a part of the new culture. Fifth, culture affects behavior. The culture in which a person has grown will dictate how a person would think and behave. The culture beliefs, values, and norms that a person practices or follows are patterns or a paradigm on how he or she would think and how he or she would behave as well. So the fifth was all about culture affect also the behavior. Culture reflects the moral and ethical beliefs and standard that speaks to how people should behave and interact with others.
Hi, good morning everyone. Before I will start our report this morning, I would like to say good morning to each and everyone, especially to our professor in this subject, Ma'am Janice Lagnason. To our classmates, good morning. In this morning, I will discuss to you what is the characteristic of culture. But before that, and this report is a continuation of a report of our group mate, Miss Marilo Mantisa. First is culture involves feelings. Culture deals with how a person feels or what he or she senses a certain situation or scenario. Uh, it means that a culture deals how a human or no person feels in a certain situations or in any culture which they belong. With they belong, they can feel and understand the feelings of every individual. Second is culture involves beliefs, values, norms, and social policies. Culture is the basis of a person on what believe or his or her beliefs, how a person views the right from the wrong, how he or she understands the values of others and of himself, what norms shall be acceptable or not, and more behavioral patterns. Uh, this uh, this this characteristic it means that a culture is a person basis of what he or she are going to believe or his or her beliefs in life, and also it is a viewpoint of an individual even to even understand the other cultures, or shall I say he or she is cultural relativism, which means understand others culture and accept it whole heartedly. uh, Second is the third one is uh, material and non-material culture. Material culture consists of physical, tangible, and human-created objects which people make use of them and share example, tools, buildings, clothing, toys, etc. Uh, Material culture, it clearly means that this type of culture is an object or things that we can able to see nor touch, and also it is the human made culture. Non-material culture uh, is it It's tangible, abstract, or ideas about culture. It can be found in everyday patterns on life such as norms, symbols, values, and customs and beliefs of people. It clearly means that this is type of culture is what we are as a persons. It is one beliefs. It is our beliefs nor values towards others, other cultures, unlike the material cultures which can be seen. But this type of cultures is what we feels nor or think. And this our end of our report. And thank you, our thank you listening.
Good morning, everyone. My topic to be discussed this morning is all about the cultural transmission and education. Cultural transmission may be defined simply as the process of passing on from one generation to another. Thus, knowledge is necessary to maintain cultural identity. Enculturation, the process by which culture is passed on to or acquired by its members from one generation to another generation. For example, John is a Filipino citizen who had a Subanin culture. He is a fan of traveling different places and also learn the culture of other people. But when John go back to his own town, he should follow and acquire his culture as a Subanin one. The second one is acculturation. Acculturation is a process through which a person or group from one culture comes to adopt the practices and values of another culture while still remaining their own distinct culture. For example, Maria is a Filipino nurse who worked in Canada for 14 years and she married to a Canadian citizen. She learned many Canadian cultural practices from her husband. According to Kim and Abreu 2001, enculturation and acculturation construct and encompasses four dimensions, which are behavior, values, knowledge, and identity. The first one is behavior. Behavior is a dimension which refers to friendship, choice, preference for television program and reading, participation in cultural activities, contact with indigenous cultural. The second one is the values. Dimensions refers to attitudes and beliefs about social relations, cultural customs and cultural traditions in addition to gender roles and attitudes, and ideas about health and illness. Example, respecting other people's beliefs on how the way they live and socializing other people. The next one is knowledge. It is defined as what is learned, understood, or aware of cultural specific information such as names of historical leaders. For example, me who belong to a Subanin tribe, so it is my responsibility to seek information regarding my culture, the different Timuais in my tribe, and able to understand our own belief. The last one is identity. Dimension refers to attitudes towards one's cultural identification, attitudes toward indigenous and dominant groups. For example, I belong to a Subanin tribe and I am very fluent in our own language. So every time I used to speak in a different language like Cebuano or English, the listener could easily recognize that I am a Subanin just the way on how I speak. And that could be all. Thank you for listening and may God bless us all.
So, good evening, everyone. So, my name is Hakim S. Untud, a student from GH Early State College, Mati San Miguel, Zamboanga del Sur, taking up with the Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Filipino. So, my task for today is to discuss about the element of culture. So, it is the discussion of the element of the culture is based from the three categories according to Crowther and Hoynes 2015. The culture on our heads: values, beliefs, knowledge, and norms; communicating culture, symbols and language; and reproducing culture, which is behavior and objects. So element of culture. So what is culture, by the way? So culture refers to the cumulative deposit of knowledge, experience, belief, values, attitude, meanings, hierarchies, religion, notion of science, rules, spatial, relations, concept of the universe and material objects, and propositions acquired by a group of people in the course of generations through individual and group striving. So, the first elements of culture is the values. So, by the way, what are these values? Values are another important element of culture and involve judgment of what is good or bad and desirable or undesirable. A culture's values shape its norms. So, values means ito yung pagpapahalaga. It is deeply held principles of standard that people use to make judgment about the words, especially in the deciding what is desirable or worthwhile. These are collective ideas about what is right or wrong, good or bad, and desirable or undesirable. So, this provides criteria by the people evaluate other people, objectives, and events. This define what is desirable and morally correct and influence people behavior and serve as criteria for evaluating the actions of others. For this example is the family orientation, close ties family, and centeredness, core values of the Filipino. So beliefs are the tenets of conviction that people hold to be true. So belief, it is in Tagalog, ito yung paniniwala, yung belief. So accordingly, beliefs share the idea held collectively by people within a given culture about what is true. These are conviction or opinions people can accept as true, serves as basis for many norms and values in a given culture. Beliefs provide a meaning system around which culture is organized, encourage people to understand fundamental issues in the world, believe in the existence of God. The example of that is the belief in the existence of God. So every Filipino or every people has belief, especially for those Muslims, Christians, and Sabanos. They have a belief, existence belief. So in us as a Muslim, we pray 5 times a day. Then we do have also our fasting, the Ramadan. So it is our culture, it is our beliefs. Next is knowledge. So, knowledge, the range of information, awareness, and understanding that helps us navigate our world. This allows every individual to grasp and learn from the intercultural experiences and how these experiences be integrated into daily life. So in culture, guys, we can we have the knowledge, of course, in culture. So we have our different knowledge in specific cultures or different cultures we have, like for examples in in a certain, like, we have knowledge about our cultures, we have a knowledge or idea to share to the other people. So that is the basic learning of computer system and a psychological insight. That is the example of the knowledge. So next is norms. So norms are a fundamental concept in the social sciences. They are most commonly defined as rules or expectations that are socially enforced. So, a set of established rules of behavior conduct, a cultural expectation for appropriate behavior, and it gives a specific behavior, acceptable expectation of given in a people situations. So the example of this is sharing a seat with an elderly pregnant woman. So the norms, yung the way you gave a value or whatever, whatever that is good or that is in an appropriate behavior of a person. So next is folkways. So type of folkways. Folkways mark the distinction between rude and polite behavior. So they exert a form of social pressures that encourages us to act and interact in a certain ways. However, they do not they do not have moral significance, and there are rarely serious consequences or sanctions for violating them. So general standards of behavior are adhered to be by a group, or informal norms or everybody customs may be violated without serious consequences with a particular culture. So it provides rules for conduct but are not considered to be very important to survival of the society. So the example of this is behaving in a crowded MRT, wearing appropriate clothes in an occasion. So that is type of waste. So next is Moors. So Moors, it is all about Moors are more strict than folkways as they determine what is considered moral and ethical behavior. They structure the difference between right and wrong. So the Moors also, it is a strict norms that control moral and ethical behavior, so considered to be highly essential to the stability of the society. The example of this is securing health permit before working in a fast food chain. So next is communicating cultures. So, in communicating cultures, guys, we have a two elements in communicating cultures, and this is the one is language. So, language, it is the what is it is the ability to communicate in a symbols in an abstract system of word meaning and symbols for all aspects of cultures, which includes speech, written characters, numerals, symbols, and nonverbal gestures and expression. Primary vehicle of cultural transmissions that embodies cultures and creates a framework of cultures. So the example of this, guys, is communicating with intercultural group. So the second is symbols. Symbols, guys, it is a gestures, the way you the way you the way you express your thought through gestures, through words, sounds, and objects. So reinforce the element of cultures. Its function, guys, is to reinforce the elements of cultures, and the example of this is like the university logos, the signage. So that is a community communicating cultures. So next is reproducing cultures. Reproducing cultures, guys, also have a two elements. The number one elements of reproducing cultures is behavior. Behavior means it is an action associated with group that help reproduce a distinct way of life. The function of it, guys, is distinguishes the unique culture or particular set of behavior of a group to another. So the example of this, guys, is respect for elders by staying po at opo. So the second is culture object. Culture objects as a basic element of material culture. These are physical items that are created by and associated with people who shares cultures. It provides tangible evidences on how culture is shared and transferred and through products of technology. The example of this, guys, is electronic devices, works of art, relics, and artifacts found in the National Museum. So that would be all, and thank you. So I hope that you have you gain more learning about my topic for today. And God bless and mabuhay.
Good morning, everyone. So at this time, we proceed to eternal function of the culture. Culture distinguishes man from animal. It is the culture that makes the human animal a man. It regulates his conduct and prepares him for a group life. Ibig sabihin, ang mga hayop ay nagkakaroon ng kultura dahil sa kanilang mga amo o sa mga turo ng kanilang mga amo. Number 2, culture provides solution for complicated situations. Culture provides a man a set of behavior for difficult situations. Ang kultura rin ang kumukontrol sa isang tao kung ito ba'y maaari niyang kainin, gawin, o hawakan. Number 3, culture provides traditional interpretation to certain situations. Isa sa mga halimbawa ng kultura ng mga Filipino ay ang biglaang paglundag ng itim na pusa sa kanilang harapan. Ibig sabihin, hindi nila itutuloy ang kanilang lakad dahil sa mayroon daw mangyayaring masama sa kanila. Pangalawang halimbawa ay kung may mahuhulog na baso sa kanilang bahay. Ibig sabihin, may mangyayaring masama sa kasakop na pamilya. Number 4, culture shape personality. No child can develop human qualities in the absence of cultural environment. Ang kultura ay umuhubog sa pagkatao. Walang batang maaaring magkaroon ng mga katangian ng tao sa kawalan ng kapaligiran sa kultura. Inihahanda ng kultura ang tao o tao para sa pangkatang buhay.
Good morning, everyone. I am John Michael in Mangaw. For this morning, I will be reported the cultures. Culture shift personality. No child can develop human qualities. In the absence of cultural environment, cultures prepare man for the growth. Life it cultures that provide opportunities for the develop of personality and set of limit of age. Ang ibig sabihin nito, ang every cultures naagid sila shift and personality. 6. The importance for the group. Cultures keep social relationship intact. Culture has importance not only the man but also the group. Cultures prepared man, group of life word both for nesty and short of their been no cultures, religions, group of solidarity, rise of the foundation of cultures. Ang kultura ay may iba't ibang mga katangian o paniniwala o may religion silang ay may Panginoon silang sinusunod. Cultures has give a new vision to the individual. Secondary cultures has give a new vision to cooperate of the individual's culture whole it's provide him with of the concept of family, set, nation, etc. and makes possible that consideration of the division of labor. Ang iba't ibang kultura ay may vision o gusto nilang makamtan. Cultures create new needs. Finally, cultures also create new needs and drives of the example, drives of knowledge of the arise that their satisfaction in satisfaction of moral religions interests of the numbers of the growth. Okay. Ang iba't ibang kultura o grupo ay may iba't ibang religions o paniniwala sa Panginoon. Sa kanilang kultura ay kailangan nating mahinahon sa kanilang mga paniniwala o pagtuo. Cultures help the individual fulfill his potential as a human being. Through the developments of cultures, man overcomes his physical disadvantage for the allow himself with of the clothing, food, and shift cultures provide roles. Sa isang kultura ay may kanya-kanyang roles. Sa Cebuano ay may roles, Muslim ay may roles. Din silang pinaiiral. Number 10. Culture relativism. Practice considered immoral a tubo of the certain of the group of the people but are the accepted of by other group with of different cultures orientation. Ang ibig sabihin ng number 10 ay kapag ang isang grupo ay may pagtitipon-tipon, pwede silang umaksip ng ibang kultura o sa kanilang mga batas na pinapatupad o kailangan nilang kumuha o mag-accept sa mga iba't ibang kultura. Thank you for this morning. Thank you everyone for listening. I am John Michael in Mangaw, Base Aid 3 Filipino. Thank you.